should be full screen. Not hard to see. Is that okay, or does it need me to darken?
No, that's good.
Okay. Go ahead. This is Formula One racing. Formula One is not only the most expensive motorsport in the world, it's also the fastest road racing sport in the world. I would like to describe to you some of the major technological advances that have gone on in the last couple of years that makes Formula One such the pinnacle of technology that it is today. I've been following Formula One for about 5 years now, really religiously. When you follow Formula One, it's not like other motorsports where you just watch the race and see who wins. You actually have to, because there's so much technology that is advanced throughout the years and the rule changes that basically go from year to year, you need to take a look at the technology and actually research it yourself. The three technologies I'm going to be spending my time on: the KERS system, the kinetic energy recovery system, the aerodynamics of the actual car, and finally, the cockpit. The first technology I want to talk about is the KERS system. KERS was introduced to Formula One in 2009. Yeah. Next. Sorry, yeah. Next. This is a picture of the KERS system. Basically, the FIA rules that go with the KERS system say that a team can use up to 60 kilowatts of power or 100 watts of power for an entire lap, or about 82 horsepower for 6.6 seconds per lap. Now, the way the KERS system works is simple. When you brake, under the car and braking, it produces a tremendous amount of heat. The KERS system recycles that heat and stores it in the form of a flywheel or a battery. This is the flywheel type, to which the driver can then use the power at any time or any point during the lap for only 6 seconds. Although this is a great technology and it's very useful when you want to come out of a turn or if you want to help overtake, it does have a drawback, and that's a lot of weight to the car, which in Formula One A Formula One car is very, very aerodynamic. In other words, not only do they have a very distinctive look, but the actual shape of the car plays a very important role in aerodynamics. The aerodynamics designer has two primary concerns: increasing downforce, reducing drag. This is the rear wing system. Also, it has something called a drag reduction system, or DRS. This part of the wing, at predetermined points in the track, in order to decrease the amount of downforce so you can get less drag, will actually open. Now, you can only use this if you're within 1 second of the driver in front of you. And it's to increase overtaking and to increase the thrill of the sport. If you look right here, you have the front wing. It's very elaborate, but very smooth. You have these three grills. Then you also look along the back of the car. Everything is very, very smooth. In other words, these cars produce so much downforce, you can technically drive them upside down in a tunnel, but no one's going to stoop enough to try. This is the monocoque. In other words, the cockpit. It's a tubular shell that houses the driver. It's a survival shell and basically the cockpit. Like the rest of the car, the monocoque is constructed of carbon fiber, up to 60 layers of it in some places, such as in the front and in the rear. It's also constructed with high woven laminate that is inside of the cockpit to keep the driver safe from debris in case of a crash. For added safety, if you look in the cockpit, you're basically strapped into a little tub. You can't move. You're put in by a 6-point harness, and your head does not move because it's attached to this part of the car. The added safety also means that no fuel or water or oil lines can go through the cockpit. Formula One drivers must be able to exit this cockpit in 5 seconds or less, removing only the steering wheel and their seatbelts, and they must be able to get in the car in 5 seconds or less, removing just their steering wheel and seatbelts. Around this, the entire body of the car around the monocoque is designed to crash or crumple or disintegrate. The reason is because it lessens the force of the impact in case of a crash. This is Robert Kubica in 2007. During this crash, he sustained up to 28 times gravity. So in other words, 28 Gs, he weighed 28 times more weight than he did at this impact. So in other words, if you take a G, and say someone weighs 100, 2 Gs makes them weigh 200 pounds. Because of this monocoque, or cockpit, basically, he walked away with only bruises and minor trauma. Go ahead and cue the next video. This is Mark Webber, Valencia, 2010. Here, go ahead. Nikki Kovalainen, Mark Webber. That crash happened at about 260 kilometers an hour. He walked away with only bruises due to the straps. And it's because of that cockpit safety. From the curve system to the aerodynamics and finally the cockpit, these are just some of the technological advances used in Formula One that make it such an advanced sport. Every year, teams come up with more ways to create the cars faster and safer. Also, this will translate into newer cars, production cars, such as multi-leaf suspensions that are available now in new Cadillacs, and even curve systems are being designed and developed for and by Prius or Toyota for hybrid cars such as the Prius.
All right, Victoria, what did you think?
I thought he had a good piece of statement. You know what he's going to talk about. And I thought the visuals were really, really cool because even though he had 2 videos, they didn't take up too much time, I don't think. And they were really interesting, like seeing the crash. And you really get to know more about these cars. I think maybe he could have organized his visuals a little bit better, maybe like on a PowerPoint, so that he didn't have to search for them. I didn't hear the sources, but I thought there was a lot of good information, and you really learned a lot. So I thought it was really good.
All right, I'll agree with you on a couple of those things. I think probably did need to organize the visuals a little bit more because we're having to scroll back and forth between the pictures. That's a little bit distracting. And source citation, I think, could be a little bit more consistent. Obviously, you're knowledgeable about the subject, but there's some details in here that just get a little bit confusing, and you spend time on them. I'm not sure that they're any more clear as a consequence. I'm listening to your description, for instance, about the curve system and about the drag, and there's a reference to how much time you can use them, and I'm thinking, okay, now is that a rule, or is that just for practical, physical kinds of things? And I don't follow any kind of car racing whatsoever, so I have no idea. And as a consequence, it's a little bit more confusing to me than it should be. The curve system, the thing that's technologically innovative about it, I think you need to be able to summarize it, give us an analogy, give us a quick explanation, and you, I think, go into a little bit more detail on it than you can do effectively